I'm Sharon Bill, welcome to my YouTube channel. I was feeling a little downhearted the other day because I'm really missing singing in my local choir. I'm really missing that element of live music, singing with my fellow choristers, that group dynamic of singing with a large group of people. And so in order to make myself feel a little bit better, I had a good old rummage through my music scores, and I thought I'd share the moment with you and just share some of my absolute favourite pieces and some of my fond reminiscence from previous concerts. I've sung in the choir that I sing in for about 20 odd years, and so as I go back through some of these scores, it really brings back lots of happy memories. So I've put the links to all of the pieces that I'm going to talk about in the description box so that you can listen to the pieces that I'm talking about and you can share with me in listening to some of this beautiful music. And the first piece that I came across in my bookcase was the Eric Whitacre Seal Lullaby. This is just such a beautiful piece. It's sublime. It's set to the words of the Seal's lullaby in the Rudyard Kipling Jungle Book stories. And basically it's a mummy seal singing a lullaby to a baby seal. It's just so sweet, and the harmonies are absolutely sublime. The piano accompaniment, just a little plink in the high register here and there. It's just divine. And the story is that Eric Whitacre was commissioned to compose this piece of music for a children's animation. But then after he'd done all of the hard work, the animation was axed, and I think in its place Kung Fu Panda was produced instead. And I do feel, well, I would say I feel really disappointed in that, and it tells you everything that's wrong with TV, but that's absolute rubbish really, because how can I say that? I've never even seen Kung Fu Panda, but I just feel convinced that this would have been absolutely amazing, and I really do recommend that you listen to that. It's just so beautiful. So I've put the link to that if you want to just share that little magic moment with me. And then I came across 2 scores of the Faure Requiem. So I got my old score from the old Novello edition, and I can't quite bear to get rid of this old copy. There's just too many memories and scribbles and notes from old sort of previous concerts, but I think there's quite a lot of mistakes in it, so we have the new Oxford edition. Now this is one of my most favourite pieces of music, especially the last movement, the In Paradisum, and it's my favourite for many reasons. One, of course, because it's just beautiful. It's just a most beautiful piece of music. But also, I don't know if you remember the TV series Morse. It was just a TV series that I absolutely loved. My husband's done some sketches of the Morse characters, and they're in Pride of Place. I absolutely love those. And this is the piece that was being sung in the sort of the college chapel in a choir rehearsal as Morse took his sort of exit from the series, really, at the end of everything, as he staggers with his attack and falls onto the college grounds. And when the children were small, we went on a little tour of Oxford, and some friends gave us a sort of an unofficial Morse tour, and we went to the actual spot where the character Morse sort of fell and staggered, and this was playing in the TV programme. And so it's just a magic moment in TV, but it's just a divine, beautiful piece of music. So that's the Faure Requiem in Paradisum, which is paradise in itself. Now, more modern day, I came across, this was a more recent concert that we did, some folk songs arranged by John Rutter. John Rutter is a prolific arranger and composer of choir music. He's sort of a real kind of figurehead in the choral world, and I have to admit I had a rather jaded view of him as a composer and arranger, perhaps because for so many years we sang nothing but John Rutter Christmas carols, and it got a little bit tedious, and so I did sort of weary of him. But then our new conductor, well, not new now, but our most recent conductor, introduced these folk songs, and these are arranged by John Rutter, and they're absolutely amazing. And my 2 particular faves And I didn't think I'd like these. I just think, oh, you know, folk songs. Because, you know, you may notice I do tend towards the sort of classical canon. However, these are beautiful folk songs. And Afton Water, it's just so pretty. And it's a poem by Robert Burns. It's a Scottish folk song, and it's just so lovely. And I really enjoyed singing this, and it opened up a whole new world to me, really. And then again, it's a Robert Burns poem, "Oh Can You Sew Cushions," and that's a Scottish folk song as well. And it's sung by a mother whose husband is away at sea. And it's just a really pretty little lullaby type song, you know, with lots of sort of nonsense words that you sort of sing to a little baby. And I really, really enjoyed it. And I think the simplicity of these is what's so appealing about them. And it makes me remember, because my mum used to sing "You Are My Sunshine." I do remember my mum singing me that when I was little. And so I really enjoy these. So I do suggest these are quite marvellous and something that I wouldn't ordinarily have chosen to sing, but I'm glad that I did. There's always something new to learn, isn't there? However, back to the old faves, so Mozart's Requiem Mass. Now I dug this one out and I did feel a real tinge of sadness, because this is the concert that we should have been singing. And then lockdown hit and stole it all away from us. And this is my friend's old score that she gave to me. And I've definitely sung this before, and I can't think why I haven't got my own copy. It must have been that we sang this years and years ago when the children were small, and I didn't feel like I could justify spending the money on a piece of music, and I probably just hired a copy and didn't have my own. So this is my friend's, and I was hoping that when we sang this concert recently, I would have perhaps indulged and bought myself a new copy. I think out of the whole piece, I mean, it's all beautiful, but Lacrymosa is just quintessential Mozart. It's sublime. I think it's one of the absolute all-time faves. So, you know, just indulge in a precious moment listening to that from the Mozart Requiem. Still staying on the biblical theme, we have the Mendelssohn Elijah, and I've sung this more recently, and I did a vlog on this when we did the away day with the Nantwich Choral Society, and I must have sung this decades ago and thought, well, I haven't got a copy, I must have hired it back in the day again. And yet when I came to sing it again more recently, I found that I remembered every single note. And Mendelssohn is kind of another Mozart genius of the Romantic period this time though, and his melodies are just so sublime. And I think out of all of them, I mean, it's all amazing, but my absolute fave was He Watching Over Israel, slumbers not nor sleeps, and it's just so beautiful. Sometimes in great big oratorios or works like this, they'll cut certain numbers. I remember on the choral day there was an absolute uproar because it was briefly mentioned that they might cut this number, and I think there was a mutiny in the ranks, and so we insisted upon singing this. Thankfully the conductor was amenable, so I do recommend that you have a little listen to that. So I'm just indulging really in and cheering myself up by revisiting music. Now here we have, again, still on the religious theme, but this is a modern composer. It's Benjamin Britten. I think he was a bit of a fruity character. And this is something I would not choose to sing ordinarily. And this is why I enjoy being in the choir so very much, because our conductor Anthony is so very knowledgeable, and he introduces things that I wouldn't ordinarily choose to sing. And then afterwards, I'm glad that I've done so. I've learned something, I've tried new things. It would be a shame, much as I enjoy singing Mozart Mass and Faure and so on, I think my world would be much too narrow if I only indulged the things that I would initially feel I wanted to sing. And so this is where I had to step outside my comfort zone. And the text is all about St Nicholas and the Legend, and the most strange movement is Nicholas and the Pickled Boys, about the legend of during the famine, St Nicholas resurrecting these little boys, and the text is slightly unusual. However, the music is amazing, and I have to admit, I really did enjoy singing this. I'm grateful to always be taught to learn new things. So that's that one. Of course, how can we have a choral music rummage without referring back to Messiah? This copy of mine is quite ancient. I think I did a vlog on this some time ago, remembering various performances of the Messiah, some better than others, shall we say. And I think whenever you think of Messiah, everybody automatically jumps to the Alleluia chorus, which is amazing, there's no doubt about it. But I think my favourite is the chorus, All We Like Sheep Have Gone Astray. And considering that the topic of the chorus is about a recreant flock, the music is surprisingly jolly, and it does make me giggle a little bit, as when the words have gone astray and the music sort of wanders off like lots of little sheepies all running off and scampering over the place, not behaving themselves and staying in the fold as they should. So for quite a serious topic, theologically speaking, it's quite a jolly light-hearted little chorus, and it just makes me smile. It's so lovely. So that's that one. Plenty in Messiah to go at if you feel like. And again, stepping outside of my comfort zone are these Aaron Copeland American songs. And again, I wouldn't think to choose such pieces as this in the old American style, and Copeland is the quintessential American composer for choral pieces. And the last piece is an absolute blast. I shall try and say the title slowly. Ching-a-Ring Chaw, and it's fast. It says lively tempo with bounce. It's fast, and it's a real tongue twister. It's a jawbreaker, but it's so jubilant. It's absolutely jolly. You cannot sing it or listen to it without a smile breaking out onto your face. And when you think that the text is about the Promised Land, brothers, listen to this story about the Promised Land and the Promised Glory. Although you don't say "and the Promised Glory," you say "an the Promised Glory." You've got to really curve off your diction. Don't make it sound too jolly British. That would completely ruin the style. It's just amazing. It's a real breathtaking piece. It's breathtaking to listen to. It's certainly breathtaking to sing. So I think in the YouTube clip that I've put, they're all sitting down, and it's like, how can your chorus sing sitting down? That sort of breaks every rule, really, but there we go. Not my chorus, so none of my business, really. Stepping back a few hundred years, we go to the Vivaldi Gloria, and it's just beautiful. Whenever we go back to singing this, it's a joy. It's an absolute joy. And so just to dig into it and listen to it, Vivaldi was an Italian Baroque composer, and it's written very much in that Italian Baroque style. Apparently on the day that Vivaldi was born, there was an earthquake in Venice, and I think that sort of gives us an omen of the composer to come. And I think the whole work is amazing, but my favourite perhaps is Quoniam tu solus sanctus, for you alone are worthy. It's just so arresting. It's beautiful. So I had a little moment there and just let that blast out of the computer for a while, and that cheered me up no end. We are getting to the bottom of the pile. The pile could be endless, but I tried to rein it in a little bit. Verdi Requiem, just beautiful. And I think We've had lots of joyous music. This one, Dies Irae, Day of Anger. My goodness, it's quite shocking. And you think, oh, you know, in Handel's Messiah, we're singing of wayward sheep. And here comes the reckoning. And I always remember bygone concerts of the lady who used to stand next to me in choir. She doesn't sing with us anymore, sadly. I do miss her voice because she got such a powerful soprano voice. We're only second sopranos, but I think really at her heart she was a first soprano, just belting out those real top notes, and they used to kind of really smack you in the eye as she sang them. And every time I sing this, I still hear her just belting out next to me. I do miss that voice. So Dies Irae, have a listen to that. That was joyous. And I finish with a bit of an oxymoron, really. It's called Messe solennelle, solemn mass, or sometimes it's referred to as Petite Messe solennelle. There's nothing very petite about it, really. Rossini was an opera composer primarily, and boy does it show in this work here. So although it's not an opera, you can just feel his operatic style, but the humility with which this was written, he felt that he was undertaking a real sacred duty, and he was so humble about it. And there's a famous quote, I wrote it at the front of my score. He wrote, so the composer Rossini wrote, "Dear God, here it is finished, this poor little mass." Well, that's an understatement. He says, "I was born for opera buffa," that's comic opera, "you know it well. A little science, some heart, that's all." How very understated, what a humble attitude. I appreciated his comment though, a little science. He knew that in order to create, he needed to know his craft. And so here's a little plug for learning your music theory. No matter how much heart and inspiration, you've got to have the tools of your trade. You've got to know your craft, you know. And so he got a mastery upon his subject in terms of key structure and musical structure and so on. And of course, some heart. I suspect there was a great deal of heart in this, especially when you think of the humility of the way he offered this little piece, or not so little piece. And you know, he knows that most of his talent was spent in opera, and he felt that God had fitted him for that task, but he just decided to stretch himself that little bit further, and I'm so very glad that he did. And so the pieces that stand out to me are the seventh movement, Cum Sancto Spiritu, Come Holy Spirit, and it's just so joyous and jubilant and light, and the fugal style Amen, where you've got lots of entries overlapping. It's a bit of a nightmare, but you know, practice, that's what it's all about, and it's just an absolute mastery in composition there. It's beautiful. But then at the end, the Agnus Dei, which is it's a solo. Strangely as well, actually, I've just seen here and forgotten this. It's a strange scoring because it's written for piano and harmonium. And I used to have a harmonium. I saw it in a charity shop years ago and just couldn't walk by and bought it for a song, haha. And it was a really clapped out little thing, a really reedy, weedy tone. And eventually I thought, well, you know, we need the space. This is a bit of a luxurious ornament, really. And so there was a bonfire going on next door, and I sort of played it into the flames on Bonfire Day. Yeah, so that's a strange scoring, really. But here we see, or hear, the operatic qualities of the composer, and it's just such a beautiful piece. And yeah, so I do recommend that you have a listen to that. So thank you for joining me on my little trip down memory lane and my music rummage, just to cheer myself up, and I hope that I inspire you and whet your appetite a little bit as well. Thanks for listening. Bye.